Welcome everybody, it's Unstoppable Stelezzi here with another Age of Mythology Retold casted match from the Deities of Death Clan. So this time we got Simon Haney 7 going up against Dormammu Timu. So this will be a pretty interesting match in general because we are on Mediterranean. Normally we do land maps, now we're actually doing one with a little water on it, so I don't know exactly how this one's going to go. So let's get started now and see how it turns out. Let's begin now. Here we go. So down here we have Timu as Odin, and then up here we got Haney as Thor. So some pretty powerful combatants here. As you know, with Odin, his specialty is better hunting rate with the villagers. Also, human units regenerate a bit of HP overall, as well as the fact that Great Hall units, particularly your cavalry and your heroes, will actually generate a bit more favor while fighting, which is really good. Now, I think Thor might have the better bonuses, though, because they actually start the game with dwarves, which I think is a really good thing since dwarves are so good at gathering gold. But not only that, the dwarves that Thor has access to have a hunting and a wood chopping rate. Not quite the same, but almost the same as a gatherer. So you can do most of your economy with the dwarves by themselves, which is really good. Now, the build order for Thor is a little bit different than the standard Norse, so I think we should go into that. Basically, with Thor, you mainly start the game with a bunch of dwarves on a gold mine, and then you try to get some dwarves onto the wood line. And that's for a very specific reason. That's because whenever you research a armory technology, which, yeah, how do you do that? Well, you can build a dwarven armory here as Thor to get access to the armory techs as early as the First Age. Every armory tech that you get is going to give you a free dwarf. So this is a way that Thor can actually outboom his opponents very early in the game. And the reason why, of course, you want to go for wood and gold is for the copper shield upgrade here. That's why you want to do that. And then from there, as you're focusing on trying to age up to the Second Age, you can also try to get some food and go for the copper weapons and the copper armor or breastplate, depending on what you want to call that thing. I call it a breastplate, you could call it armor. Doesn't matter too much, it's basically the same sort of idea. And yeah, that's sort of how you want to do Thor. Try to go for as many armory upgrades as possible to get as many dwarves out as possible. Now, one more good thing about Thor, the cost of the armory techs themselves is going to be a bit cheaper, so it's not all that expensive to do, you know? It's a pretty reasonable price overall to go for these things. And in no time flat, we'll probably see Thor start to get his temple up pretty soon as well. And we see some dwarves starting to hunt this boar right now and get some food, right? The Odin, because their build order is a bit more standard as the Norse, already have their temple already up, and they are probably going to start aging up into the Second Age too any moment. Looks like Thor has already selected Forseti, it looks like. Forseti, pretty good option whenever you have him. Basically, he's good for defense. Not in the traditional sense, but rather the healing spring. The healing spring, if you put it near a town center or an area where your army is going to be located, it will heal all the units around the vicinity of the thing. So basically, you're healing your troops for free while they're not only being idle, but also running, fighting, whatever. You know what I mean? It makes your troops last a lot longer and ends up saving you a lot of resources in the long run, which I think is really important, you know? Especially once all those gold mines start to run out and you have to start thinking about market trade. The player that has the most gold and food later into the game is going to have a much better advantage. So if you can use that healing spring to save a few infantry and other units here and there, I think that's totally worth it. Oh, definitely. So, looks like the Odin's going to go up with Heimdall, looks like. Heimdall's a pretty interesting one. While his technologies do focus on buildings, he's also good at taking out buildings with his Undermine ability. And of course, the Inheri, really good myth unit we see here, basically acts as sort of a commander, right? When it's near your other units, he'll blow his horn, and then they'll start to fight better and perform better in the battle, which is good. Okay, so I noticed a little bit of a movement along the coast there and wanted to check it out. This is a water map Mediterranean, so the question is, if you're the player, and this is the question I've always asked myself on this map, to fish or not to fish? That's a question I always think about. Because there's times when I've gone fishing on here and I've regretted it. There's times when I've overfished on this map and really regret it. And then there's times when I didn't fish at all and I regret that too. So you got to figure out what's the proper balance, right? Is it worth going for this big body of water, eating up all the food on it, or is it not, right? It doesn't make it any easier that Odin knows exactly what you're doing with his ravens, right? Whenever you build your first temple as Odin, you get access to the ravens, which acts as a free scouting unit for you. That even if they die, they'll basically come back for free a little bit later. So a lot less scouting work that you have to do as the Odin player, pretty much, which is really good. But what will we see here? Will we see any sort of land attack? Will we see a focus on water? What is the plan here? I think we're going to see water. I mean, I see a Herser right here trying to put down a dock right now. So it looks like Odin is going to take the initiative on the water, from what it looks like. Now, is Thor going to respond with his own water and try to fight that? Or is he just going to say, you know what, I don't want to deal with water, I'm going to go land? You got options on this map. You know, that's what makes this map so complicated. Because there's probably a billion different ways to go about it, right? You can go straight down the water to reach your opponent, or you can, you know, battle for these corners of the map too, and then go for an ultimate push towards your opponent there. So yeah, that'll be a real interesting challenge to see what they go with exactly. Looks like the Odin is going to get Watchtower now, also picking up fishing boats. Now they ended up going for 3 docks. 3 docks now. This is going to give the Odin a huge advantage on water. This means that they're going to be able to pop out 3 arrow boats, whatever sort of ship they need, at the same time. Whereas Thor over here only has 1 dock, which means, while they can get some fishing out, they're going to be significantly delayed compared to what Odin is doing. Yeah, it's going to be really tough overall for Thor to basically keep up with Odin here. That being said, though, a little bit fish is totally good. You know, some of the fish patches are really close to the dock here, so you will be able to get a little bit of something, you know? Even if you have the Odin player raining down on you with all these boats, you could probably at least get a little bit of food around this area, around the basic vicinity of it. But he does get a second dock now, so maybe it's not so bad. We'll see, though. One thing I totally respect about the Thor player, he's making the wooden walls right now. He's putting a wall up here. Probably is going to put one up around here too. He's already putting one up around here as well. This is something that advanced players in Age of Mythology know to do, is set up lots and lots of walls around any particular choke points, because you're going to be raided a lot by all sorts of things. Cavalry, myth units, you name it. So you need to have those walls up so the enemy just can't come in and snipe your town center. I mean, look, even Rex Goodwin, friend of mine, he loves to take villagers and snipe my town centers with them. So even a villager rush is something you legit need to be concerned about sometimes when you're trying to hold a position. So yeah, definitely be careful of that. Now we see some fishing boats over there from the Odin player. Anything else going on? Well, we do see that the Thor was actually the first player to go double town center. And Odin is just getting that town center almost done right now. So it looks like, at least on that front, the Thor ended up doing a bit better in terms of score. Yeah, a bit better. And how's the overall resources looking? So it looks like Odin has a lot more food, since of course their hunting rate is just so good with the Odin bonuses. But it does look like the Thor has more wood and more gold, and a bit more favor too. So I don't know who's got the advantage here just yet, but we'll see. We'll see soon enough who's going to be doing good on that front. Yep, we did see the wall piece here get finished by the Thor player as predicted. And it looks like gatherers will focus on wood here in the back. Any early indicators of military. So right now we're just seeing Hersers from the Thor. How about the Odin? So the Odin hasn't really built a production yet. Now they do. So we got longhouses here to make maybe some throwing axes, some herdmen, some berserkers. Could be a very useful addition, pretty much. And then from there, what else do we see? We see some, looks to be, ooh, wait a second now. I just looked over here. It looks like Thor is going up to the heroic age with Scotty. Now, that could be kind of interesting, actually. Yeah, definitely. Gives you access to a powerful god power, the frost ability, the freeze everything, frost giants. Definitely looking forward to that. And then, of course, you'll be in the heroic age, so you'll actually be able to make Krakens out of your docks as well, which I think would be a really good addition. Looks like, looks like the Odin is getting ready to go with infantry, though. Researching medium infantry. Also improving the buildings with safeguard. Is going to do some throwing axemen, ideally to fight whatever sort of melee infantry that the Thor tries to do. Yep, looks like Scotty has locked in for Thor there, and we get a Kraken. The Kraken is going to be cracking the fishing boats as we speak. Yeah, this is the thing that always kind of bothers me when I'm on water in Age of Mythology, is it takes a lot of energy to take out these myth units. It's like so obnoxious sometimes. Yeah. Like, see, the Kraken is already here and he's surrounded by enemy fishing boats, so what do you think he's going to do? He's going to take out some of that stuff, right? Look at that. The Kraken will be cracking the boat. The Kraken is cracking. Cracking the Kraken. Very good. So basically now, unless the Odin can come up with a quick response from the 3 docks down here, this whole area of fish is potentially threatened right now. Completely destroyed. Oh yeah, on top of that, the Thor made a hammer boat, it looks like, and a siege boat, the dragon ship. So basically, you got a lot of naval attack right here from the Thor going up against the Odin. And the Odin, in turn, is going to have to do something about that, obviously. They can't just let all these Krakens start moving around the water and start cracking their boats in half. They're going to have to crack the Krakens, basically, to stop the Krakens from cracking. That's pretty much it. And we're not seeing any sort of queuing up here at the dock, so at this point, maybe the Odin decided to give up on water and just let the Thor go for it. Totally possible, you know. That's something I've seen before when dealing with opponents on Mediterranean. I've seen them just say, you know what, I'm going to make it look like I'm losing and just let them win on the water, and then I'm going to hit them harder on land. And that's something probably the Odin is considering doing here, so we got to really pay attention to that, you know. Just don't think that the Odin player doesn't know what he's doing. He's probably being really tactical and saying, hey, if I don't get all these arrow ships and whatever, I can save on the wood and the gold and put that into siege weapons going on land. Get ballistas out, getting portable rams out. So we'll see where that actually ends up going here. As for the land, it looks like the Thor is making some army now. We see some Hersers coming out. We also see some Gaudis be made as well. These are the ranged heroes. Now, it's kind of interesting in a way, because it's almost as if the Thor was kind of assuming that the Odin was going to do the same thing with the Krakens, and they wanted to have their great hulls along the coastline, so if a Kraken did show up, you have the guys there to start pelting the thing with javelins until they die. So, yeah, I think that was a pretty good move on the Thor player's part. The Odin will actually go with Scotty as well, so, yeah, probably trying to get a free Kraken out of that to try to fight back this stuff. I don't know if it's going to work, though, because it looks like just about all the boats are gone at this point, and you just have, like, one dock now. Yeah, one dock left, and that possibility is completely gone. Looks like the Odin will make some more Inheries to boost up the stats of the other guys in combat. Dock is being attacked directly by the Hammer ship and the Krakens as well now. Thus, I don't know if they're going to get that free Kraken in time. The free Kraken will not be coming, it looks like. No. Yeah, I think the dock's going to be down before the age up completes. Yes, the dock does go down. So no free water myth unit. That's just so devastating. It is. I mean, you still get your Frost Giant, but still, it's like night and day, man. That's just so devastating. Big time. Hammer of Thunder coming in from Thor to allow the Hersers to do more damage and generate favor faster. Oh, wow. Look, the Thor's already going up to the Mythic Age with Tyre. Now, that could be pretty powerful, right? And then we also see the Dwarven Breastplate now, one of the extra armory techs you get with Thor through the Dwarven Armory. Again, just keep in mind how many armory techs there are with Thor. You got the 9 original ones, plus Ballistics, which is the 10th one, and then you have the Burning Pitch, which is another one, right? And then you get the 3 extra ones. So really, we're looking at 14 extra dwarves, which is really, really big. It's like a super mega boom. It's a super mega boom, you know, and you just get so much gold off of all that around the map. It's really great. Yeah. Speaking of which, we got to pay attention to this side of the map too in case something spurs up. We do see that the Odin does build their town center here. I wonder if the Thor is going to build their TC as well. For both players, it's really pivotal that they sort of secure both sides of the map because you never know if you're going to get flanked here. This is one of those crazy maps where there's just so much land you have to be responsible for, so much geography differences between the water and the land that you just need to, you know, use common sense and not get yourself into a hole thinking that you're fine because you're doing well on this side when this side could completely open up on you. Right? Well, one thing I will say about Thor, though, at least he doesn't have to worry about the water now. The water is basically completely cleaned up. You know, those Krakens and the few ships he made should be able to hold the water, no problem. Even if the Hersers tried to come up the side with a dock or two, I think you could still deal with that. Tyre is almost done. I think we know what's going to happen when Tyre's complete, right? Oh, we're going to get a Fimbulwinter. Fimbulwinter right away. Am I correct in my presumption there? Fimbulwinter? Is Fimbulwinter going to come? I guarantee you it's coming at some point. Any point now, we're going to see a Fimbulwinter show up and start ripping through everything. Yeah, but either way, it looks like town center upgrade there. Copper armor coming in. Levy, Great Hall units. Hamask, Odin inspires Berserks to move faster and deal additional damage to Myth units. Probably going to be important, depending on what the Thor player does for Myth stuff. It looks like the Thor is actually going to do some Myth units here, doing some of the Fenris Wolf Broods. So definitely the technology here that Odin has, the Hamask, is going to be a real sort of advantage against that, pretty much, yeah. Flood control coming in, all those Mythic Age economic upgrades going to be real handy, including Quarry, Carpenters. This is going to give Thor a much better score over his opponent who's still in the Heroic Age. A Mythic Age versus a Heroic Age is like a night and day sometimes because there's just so many upgrades coming in for the Mythic Age opponent that they're going to be able to do really well against the lesser upgraded one. Which I think we're going to see here. Salt Amorphia there to boost the fishing rate as well. Very good choice. So what is the army comp going to be for the Odin? So we see Herdmen, we see Raiding Cavalry, we see Throwing Axes, some Goaties, Hersers, and the 2 Inheris there, basically. And what is the Thor going to do? So Thor has Herser, Frost Giant, Troll, some, they have like 1 Axeman, a bunch of Goaties, and some Jarls. They're doing Jarls. Now, the Jarls are pretty powerful. The Jarls can do quite a bit of damage, so you definitely don't want to deal with them if you can avoid it. Alright, the Thor does back up a bit to put down a hill fort, which I think from a map control standpoint, probably a very strategic idea, because you just don't know how the battle's going to go down here, right? A lot could change. A lot could change very, really fast here. And we do see the Thor starting to put up a town center in the spot as well, which I think is a pretty smart idea. And then in this spot here, we see really nothing changing on the water front right now. I wonder what's going to happen next after the... Yep, it looks like the hill fort is done over here. Portable Ram is also coming out now, so a bit of siege already. You're going to need some sort of siege, I think, if you want to, you know, break your way through all those buildings pretty much. So I think that's a pretty good idea, actually. Also, we're seeing Tyre's sort of infantry upgrades coming in as well, like Bravery for the Huskarls. Also, heavy infantry is coming in too, so Thor's definitely thinking about upgrades. Alright, so we see the Inheres start to boost up these soldiers. You can see from like the blue flames around the units, but unfortunately a frost does come up, which is going to allow Thor to take out the hill fort without little resistance, and essentially be able to avoid the angry charged attack of the Inheri boosting the nearby troops, which is good. Fenrir's brood is targeted head-on by a Herser, being completely taken out though. And what else? Looks like the Jarls are going to take out a throwing axeman, one of the unfrozen units, and then start look for some other stuff to damage, what they think is pretty smart. Looks like Thor is going to continue to go Jarl, Hero, and now add in some throwing axemen as well. So a lot of anti-infantry there. A lot of anti-infantry. Looks like the Odin is doing Berserker with Herser and throwing axemen. Hersers are, I should say the Berserkers are a pretty neat unit. While they're not the strongest, they attack really fast. You know, they can do quite a bit of damage if you ignore them too long. So you definitely have to deal with them pretty quickly. And now looks like we're going to see Siege coming in for the Thor as well. I see Ballistas, I see Portable Rams coming in too. I do see that the Thor is going with the Secret of the Titans here. Pay attention to this. This could be really big, actually. Yeah, really big. And now we see that Fimbulwinter come in that I was talking about. See what Fimbulwinter does? It completely bogs you down. That's what the Fimbulwinter is all about, is just bogging the opponent down, making them distracted. Because then they have to go to the nearest town center, press the little bell, and go ding, 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 ding. Because if you don't do that, all the vills are going to die to the wolves. Yeah, it's like a literal nightmare fuel scenario. Like, imagine your whole economy just being gone in one fell swoop. And even then, sometimes you're going to lose vills, even if you hit the bell button in enough time. It's going to be pretty devastating for you. So, yeah. Fimbulwinter, one of the scariest god powers you could ever run into in Retold, I think. What Retold did that made it even worse, I think, is the fact that they made it rechargeable, so you could get it again, potentially. Granted, it's a lot of favor, like 350 favor, but there is the chance with enough combat as the Norse, especially with all the improved favor-related bonuses and techs that you get between the three gods, you're going to see another Fimbulwinter at some point, and it might completely ruin everything for you. So yeah, definitely a very concerning situation to find yourself in, I would think. We do see the Myth units here starting to intervene on the shoreline, and it's forcing the Odin to actually back up a bit. Oh yeah. You got the Krakens trying to do some melee, and then you got the Jormunelver, a ranged Myth unit, trying to shoot some steam at him too. Yeah, looks like though the Odin's getting some good momentum here. Notice how the Odin used Undermine in this spot on the hill fort to basically crush it a lot easier. Undermine is a great god power for just crushing really big buildings. You know, longhouses, hill forts, all that sort of stuff. It's a good way to gain on the battlefield if you save it up, basically. And it's one of the earlier god powers, so if you want to use it again at some point, you can probably afford it. You know, it's not the most expensive thing on the block to do, compared to some of the more later god powers that you have. Oh, it looks like Thor is starting to get some more gold mines from his Thor god power there to basically keep the dwarves busy. The Dwarven Mine. The Dwarven Mine does get more useful in later ages where it starts to contain more gold. So, yeah, if you can save these off till the Mythic Age, it's usually better because then you have a lot of gold to work with to basically get a late game supply of gold for defense and all that, right? So what now? Looks like throwing Axemen, a few Berserkers, and Gaudis start to push on this position of Thor. Whereas Thor over here is focusing on this gold. We do have markets set up in case trade is needed, but from the looks of it right now, maybe the Thor can get away with not having trade because they can use the Dwarven mines to essentially keep their dwarves busy enough on gold that they won't need to trade anything with the Ox caravans, which I think would be pretty good. And see that, and this is something you need to know about healing springs. Healing springs can be captured, right? Notice how Thor was planning on using this as a defensive perimeter and having all his troops be healed up. Once the Odin was able to take out the buildings and take out all the units here, they were essentially able to capture the healing spring, and now it's the Odin that can actually hold this line effectively. Especially since they're putting up a hill fort to secure it as well. This big beefy building that takes time to take down. So I don't know what the Thor is going to do. I mean, he's got a few options. He can obviously go for some more stronger units perhaps, set up more defenses like this. Can also go with the Titan. Because notice he got Secret of the Titans. That is a nuclear option that potentially the Thor can actually go for here as a potential defense. Right, so yeah, we might actually end up seeing that here, which would be kind of crazy, actually. Yeah. In the meanwhile, it looks like the Odin will not take any chances and start to build some longhouses in the back, so they can get some extra infantry right up on the front lines. Getting even more armory upgrades, it looks like. Getting the looks to be bronze armor, iron weapons, iron shields, so even more free villagers, yep. Very good. Oh man, looks like we are going to get that Titan Gate here. I see it at 0% right now for Thor. 1%. I can imagine he's going to try to build this thing up like super fast here. Yeah, look at all the berserkers and the goatees coming onto this thing to try to build it super fast. Because this is how you completely ruin Odin. Odin's like going full throttle into your base, burning through food, burning through everything, trying to fight you. Yeah, I will say for the Odin, though, the Odin did a great job at salvaging the wood. So they're going to have a lot of wood to do stuff here. So they're going to build hill forts, great halls, longhouses, literally on every spot that they possibly can here. Because I think that they know now that their opponent is doing the Titan Gate, and they're like, I got to reach that Titan Gate and stop that thing, because if I don't, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. Right? And one thing you might want to consider doing if you're Odin, maybe use your Undermine power again. Maybe use Frost. Why don't you just use like Frost or something, freeze all the troops there, get a few troops over here and try to distract it, take it out, you know what I mean? All you have to do is take out that Titan Gate and you're home free, buddy. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. Because it's obvious Odin at this point has the map control from the land point of view. But he just needs to make sure that that Titan doesn't come out, because he'll lose all that map control and resources too. In an almost fatal sort of way. So yeah. Yeah, from what it looks like right now, the Titan Gate is more than halfway done. So it's a real concern that that might end up happening. You know what I mean? Now, this is one thing that potentially the Odin can do to try to stop the Titan Gate, is actually use the Fimbulwinter to have the little doggos bite the units and potentially kill as many of them as possible, which it looks like they're doing. I'm seeing some of the human units start to fall first to the Fimbulwinter wolves, but it looks like some of the heroes might fall too, some of the goatees. Look at some of the goatees even getting wiped out by these wolves. These wolves are vicious. Fimbulwinter is one of the scariest abilities you could ever run into, because it kind of ruins everything that you're trying to do, basically, you know what I mean? That being said, though, the Titan Gate is now up to 92%, 93. Should be ready any moment now. Any moment now, our Odin friend is not going to be happy here. He's going to be quite sad. Really sad. Very, very sad. I do mean it. Yep, it just came out. Here comes the Titan. Here's your win condition, Thor. Use it wisely. Use it wisely. Let's see if Odin can do anything about that. He doesn't even want to try. He doesn't even want to try. He's been totally demoralized by it. But you can see why. Look at with all this fighting here. Look at how much food the Odin burned through. Look at all that food loss. He cannot afford to lose all these human units to a big Titan like that. You literally send them reeling back. Reeling back like so far away. Like he'll lose all of this and potentially have this be the next offensive. So that is totally understandable why he would not want to continue there. Really is. Yeah, looks like in general the Thor... Well, who were we watching this whole game? It looks like we were watching the Thor, yeah. Looks like we were watching the Thor. The Thor got the biggest army, most kills, most relics, most scorp. So, wait a minute, no, I was watching the Odin, it looks like, yeah. My bad. So yeah, in terms of the Odin, it looks like the Odin actually got a lot of fighting done, but it didn't matter at the end of the day because the Titan just ruined it all. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, look at all this post-game stuff here if you want to check it out. All that, that, and this, and a little bit of this. Yep. So yeah, thank you for coming to this match. I was really surprised by this one. I thought it was, from the name of the recording, was going to be all about a huge naval battle. But the naval battle itself was pretty underwhelming, I would say. I mean, it was just one man losing his whole fishing economy for free, basically. I think the real story here was the Titan. The Titan is the biggest storyteller of this thing, because getting a really good economy and getting Secret of the Titans done early, I think, is a really good message for you here, especially. Yeah, big time. So sign off now from this one. See you in the next match that I end up casting for Deities of Death Clan. And definitely check them out too on YouTube for some really good gameplay and stuff.